WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and Baltimore Positive. Spring has sprung around here. We're doing the Maryland Crab Cake Tour. Is all presented by our friends at the Maryland Lottery. We're getting out and about. At some point, I'm going to get this guy off the dealership. But I was saying, spring has sprung. I got my short sleeve, right? And you're always like, what color shirt do you want? You sent me this Houston Oiler blue that reminds me of Warren Moon and Earl Campbell and whatnot. So, once I get this 70 degree, I took a little picture, Dennis, on Tuesday when it was 70 degrees. And there's something magical about short sleeves. We got golf tournaments. They're going to play baseball since the last time you and I got together, right? Like they're really going to play, and there's an opening day. And by the way, even when they don't play, there's nothing like football, right? Like this week, it's green beer and St. Patrick's Day and corned beef and all that. And the NFL has managed to swoop in, right? Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson to Denver, Tom Brady, he's not, Giselle picture kids. And then the Ravens are spending $70 million on a safety. It's almost like there was no plague, Dan.
Yeah, you know what? It's funny you should say that, but every place you walk into now, it's the plague is it's an afterthought. We're not wearing masks anymore. Don't have to wear them anywhere, and it's kind of nice though. It's kind of nice to getting back to what it used to be. And Baltimore Ravens stayed out of the news for the first 24 hours of free agency, and lo and behold, Eric DeCosta gets his center fielder. He gets to write the Earl Thomas mistake, because that's what it was. It was a bad signing. Credit to them for walking away, and then they come back and get a right tackle. And I think what's important is that both of these players have been available. They haven't been hurt, right? Williams has missed 5 games in 5 years. Morgan Moses has been more stout than that. So I think we're seeing the Ravens shift from injured players such as Tavon Young, perhaps Deshaun Elliott, and moving towards players that are going to be there for you week after week.
Dennis Koulatsos is here. He, of course, is here on Thursday from 3 until 5, and then again on Sunday mornings. I join him. Luke joins him. This is a really tumultuous week. If you're on the WNST tech service, you get the breaking news first. At 9:36 at night, I go to bed early. I got a little awake, and I'm like, oh, Ravens got a right tackle. That's good, I would say this as a fan, just as somebody that follows the ebb and flow, not doing this on the radio 4 hours a day anymore, and taking calls and really becoming consumed 20 hours a week on the air with it. There is a point for me that is really, I'm going into a fun part of my life where the fandom of me and staying looped in as I'm going to the owners meetings next week, right? Like who the coaches are in various places, what the issues in the league are. But there really is the competitive part of this, right? Where the salary cap, all the things that baseball players have screwed up and the league screwed up and the owners have screwed up, that make it fun even for the Bengals fans all of a sudden, right? That they might have gotten Ryan Jensen this week, or they're going to give all this money to this guard, or they're going to let somebody else go, right? And then the Steelers with Mitch Trubisky, right? So there's that. And that was a 3-hour drama. And, the Ravens are twiddling their thumbs and they're doing, and then the Ravens sign. And then all of a sudden I go to bed and I wake up at like 3:00 in the morning, and the Cleveland quarterback is out online, right? Because they're messing around. They're flirting with the Houston guy that's got 25 women alleging that he's a creep. That beyond a creep. I mean, creep would, that what we would call him in Dundalk and Essex, criminal. So all of this being said, they don't have to snap the ball. They don't have to sell tickets. They don't have to do anything. It is a soap opera, and we are bravoing or putting the thumbs down or saying we're waiting for the next act, or we don't like this song. By the way, I'm going to see Dear Evan Hansen on Saturday, getting back downtown, support Baltimore.
There you go.
But I would say this, there really is never a dull moment. Like anything here is possible, right?
And here's the gambling angle that you and I have talked for the last couple of weeks, that one of the sports books is suing the NFL and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because some of the professional bettors put a lot of money in a couple of days before Tom Brady signed with the Bucs. So the Bucs were 60-1 favorites to go to the Super Bowl. Once they signed Brady, they became 30-1 odd favorites. So
whoever told Tom Brady told somebody that.
Correct.
Yeah.
So now these sport book agencies are not too happy about the odds doubling up.
We've talked about this from the beginning, right? Like the internet
crazy.
was a great thing until you started getting I am a king in Gambia and I have your daughter hostage and I need 500,000 rubles. Like, it doesn't take 2 seconds for scams and scammers and insiders. It didn't
Insider
take
trading,
Calvin Ridley, what, 8 weeks, right? I mean, he was
right?
right into this. It's
So the stories are abundant, Nestor, and there's money. It's always about the money, right? Insider trading, inside information, right? Who knows who tips whom off, etc. And unless you're on the inside, you're left, which are very few and far in between. You're left on the outside in the cold. But to your point, the stories out there right now in regards to the NFL and what the brand and what the product is, and I'm glad you brought up Baker Mayfield and Deshaun Watson. It just shows you what a garbage franchise, a garbage organization the Browns are. It's a cesspool. You, Baker Mayfield, love him or not, he's a clean kid. I think he's married. You don't hear him about him getting in trouble anymore. And you got Deshaun Watson, and Cleveland's one of 3 other teams that are flirting with the guy. You got to be kidding me.
What's the market for Baker Mayfield? You know what I mean? I'm wondering this just on a big
Well,
level. What would the market be for Lamar if because Lamar's not quarterback in a box. You just don't pick. I mean, it wouldn't be like Aaron Rodgers where we're already built with a left tackle here and a traditional sort of cast is what I would call it around him.
okay.
And I don't know that every team would be interested. Now they'd say, yeah, I'll have Lamar, but at what number? At 44 million against my cap? And then I have to go build what around him? In
Yeah.
what way? And this is where they are right now with Pat Ricard and money. And once the gate falls, once the real tampering period's over and Bradley Bozeman, and maybe by the time people even hear this, right, some of these things will have sorted out because that's the hour and that's how all this works out. Um, you know, I think there is, a part of this for quarterbacks that you're either you either an R or you're a might be. And Baker Mayfield's definitely a might be, as is Ryan Tannehill. That's no disrespect. Matt Ryan's a might be, right? He didn't do it, right? So there's all of these cats. I was even thinking about Flacco. Is he going to hold a clipboard again up in New York for Joe Douglas and whatever? There are only a handful of guys. And Brady, dude, Brady moved the odds 10, right? It was 20-1. They go to 10-1 the minute he signs because the perception of him, and I would put Mahomes there, and there's only a handful of guys. I even thought about our friend Ryan Jensen. Like, I thought, would I rather play with Joe Burrow for the next 3 years if I'm him? Or would I rather play with Brady for one more? I don't, I mean,
I
obviously he's got a marriage with Brady, but I'm thinking about those quarterbacks that we think can win. And Matt Stafford did win now, right? If you're not perceived as that guy, I don't know what the market really would be for Baker Mayfield.
A couple of things here, Nestor. Keep in mind, there's no income tax in the state of Florida, right? Which that in and of itself makes it a very attractive landing spot for these players, such as Tom Brady and Ryan Jensen. So they're able to keep their hard-earned money versus giving a good chunk of it to Uncle Sam. As far as Baker Mayfield is concerned, I will tell you this: as a Ravens fan, I'd much rather see Mitch Trubisky in a Pittsburgh Steelers uniform than a Baker Mayfield, because I do think Mayfield is a better quarterback. So now, allegedly, he's on the trading block. We'll see how that plays out. Then he's a serviceable quarterback. I think that's his floor, and really don't know what that also may be his ceiling too, for all I know. But I'm glad Trubisky's in Pittsburgh and Baker for the moment in Cleveland, and hopefully they get him out of there. Because somebody said, "What do you think about facing Deshaun Watson twice a year?" The Ravens have beaten Deshaun Watson, I think, the last 2 times they played against the Texans, if I'm not mistaken. On the field, he looks a lot worse than Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson is by far the better quarterback, in my opinion.
Oh, I think and I think time will tell that, right? And situation and what Deshaun. I mean, talk about a clean kid. Lamar's a clean kid, right?
Yeah, super
So,
clean.
but I would also say you just proved my point. You almost laughed at Mitch Trubisky, like right, like that. If you're not one of those guys, you're just one of the other guys, and one of the other guys doesn't get me scared in the morning. I don't feel the same way I feel about Roethlisberger or certainly Burrow now. And we're coming to grips with that, right? Like when we start to talk about Cincinnati and who they are and what they represent, and they're trying to get better. They signed players this week as well and spending money. I don't know that Jacksonville's ever going to get there despite all the money they spent earlier in the week. But there is a perception that if you're not that, if you don't have a quarterback that we don't think much of the Steelers winning the Super Bowl because we don't think much of Mitch Trubisky winning the Super Bowl right now.
You got Mitch Trubisky, you have Mason Rudolph, and I think you have Dwayne Haskins in Pittsburgh. When you have three quarterbacks, you don't have one, Nest, and he's a stopgap. Trubisky is a stopgap quarterback. Do the Steelers draft someone in this year's draft class? I believe that they will. I think they have to. They have to get their quarterback of the future, and Trubisky he's a 1 or 2 year stopgap type of a player. He's only going to get you so far. They're going to run the ball, obviously. They're going to rely on their defense, special teams, great coaching by Mike Tomlin. He'll have the team ready to play, but they're going to be a mediocre 500 team with this guy quarterback.
Dennis Koulatsos is here. He's over Coons Baltimore Ford, Security Boulevard. Of course, the tech service live this week. I wish we had more March Madness going on, like with local teams. We are going to be over at Costas having crab cakes, giving away Betty Boop tickets. Also got these really slick Maryland Lottery lanyards they're pretty cool. They got the flag on it. So a bunch of stuff to give away and doing all that. You know, I want to talk leadership with you, Den, because we do a little bit of that around here. And you and I get into football, and we talk a lot about the Costa and Bisciotti and, where the Orioles and baseball last week and labor and all that. This signing of Marcus Williams and $70 million and whatever expectation comes with that, is he a ball hawk, intercepting the ball? Obviously, the importance analytically of the back end and where they're spending all their money, saying, and I said this to Luke, we might get after the quarterback. We might have a pass rush, Owe, Bowser. We draft somebody else, Darius Smith, whatever it is. All that being said, Tom Brady's going to get rid of the ball before we get to him most of the time anyway. So the back end's the most important. That's where we're going to spend the money. And when I get Aaron Schatz on from Football Outsiders and Pro Football Focus, I will talk to those guys about that and spending money there. But I want to talk to you about leadership and when Ed Reed leaves. And by the way, doesn't he look slick with that gray hair now? He looks professorial, out there doing all that. But he leaves, and all the series of mistakes, Ozzie, Eric, they all own it. Kukinis, they've all been in on it. Ortiz, I want to leave him out. All of them. They've all scouted. They've swung and missed on Huff and I go through the names. Elam, Brooks, all the way through, right? But the Earl Thomas thing was Eric's original sin, right? It was one of the first things he did.
Right.
It weighed heavy on him. It sort of, I think, screwed him up a little bit, sort of like he didn't like that wasn't going well. And I think also that happened in the aftermath of them losing a bunch of players the night before. It was a flurry this week, a couple years ago, right? And the Earl Thomas thing stands as a big mistake. And there's something about, and I want to ask you about hiring people, the biggest mistake you ever made where you're like day 3, you're like, oh my God, did I get that wrong? How did I get that wrong? I know more. I should know more now. I'm getting older. I've made these mistakes. With Eric, this is going back into the peanut gallery and going after it again in a big way because it's important. In the same way they kept drafting wide receivers, right? In the same way you don't stop, you just keep trying to do it, but really trying to avoid another Earl Thomas. And I think you and I would both say, certainly you're very good at this, hiring people. And Eric DeCosta, they've been outstanding at hiring people, and you always tip your cap to the way they hire. And it's what Steve Bisciotti does. It's, fundamentally he'd say, I'm good at picking people. Like that's his gift. That's how he became a billionaire. That Eric would get Earl Thomas wrong and then go this hard in on this guy. The expectations for I began the conversation with Luke saying, Ed Reed, you better be Ed Reed. That's me being a little facetious, but he better be a damn difference maker, right? Like I better be hearing and feeling him because I'm coming into this with big expectations because Eric is, right? Because the people they've put their mark on this, and they believe this guy's a special player.
The one thing about a safety, Ness, is you can't throw away from a safety. You can throw away from a cornerback. Cornerbacks usually play sides or they're assigned to a specific receiver. But as a quarterback on the offense, you don't know where that safety is going to be, which is what made Ed Reed so special. Tom Brady used to always check on his armband, where is Ed Reed when they played the Ravens, right? So that shows you how important Ed Reed was to that defense. And Tom Brady would throw away from Ed Reed. We saw with Ed Reed in 2012 at the Super Bowl when Colin Kaepernick decided to challenge him. What happened there? He turned the ball over. Ed Reed came up with a pick. Those type of players are generational, and Ed Reed is a Hall of Famer. So it's not fair to really put Marcus Williams in that category yet. Is he a center fielder? Yes. Is he a ball hawk? Yes. Does he have great range and instincts? Yes. Does he take bad angles? He does. Is he a tackling machine? No, he's not a willing tackler, but that's not what the Ravens need out of him. They need him to patrol that backhand when he goes up against the three-headed monster up there in Cincinnati, right? When he goes up against those Steelers wide receivers, the Browns wide receivers. So I do think the young man's got a shot to be a really solid player for the Ravens for a long time. He'll be available. He's only missed 5 games in 5 years. He's an ascending player. People say, well, why didn't the Ravens sign Tyrann Mathieu? Well, 32 years old versus somebody 25 years old. So we think that Marcus Williams is, put better days right ahead of him. And then you factor in Mike McDonald, who used the safeties real well in his tenure at Michigan as a defensive coordinator.
Dennis, it's a great breakdown on all of that. I would say part of this in this defense is they're really counting on Humphrey and Peters being right, and in the same way that last year they were counting on Stanley and Boyle being right. Health is everything in all of this, and the signings they made were, and I'm sure this comes to Bisciotti as well when they go down to Jupiter and sit on the boat. I don't want to be giving money to guys that can't play, right? Like let's find durable football players and guys with a track record of getting on the field. And I think they believed that in Zeitler last year. I think they believed that in Villanueva. And he played and retired. Hats off for all he's done for the country, not for the Steelers, but for us. But that durability part, that Calais Campbell part, that can you play part, is paramount.
It's huge. The best ability, Nestor, is availability. You talk about leadership. And as a leader, that's one of the things you realize. You can't use players who aren't available to you. It's no different than when your teacher said empty chairs can't learn. You got to be available. You got to be there. And the kind of money these players are making, I mean, to think that Jawan James can be a serviceable tackle for the Ravens, he's played in exactly 3 more games than you and I have the last 3 years. So Eric DeCosta is not going to make the same mistake again he made last year. I don't believe Ronnie Stanley comes back. I think if he comes back, it'll be a bonus. But the Ravens right now, Ness, also need a left tackle.
Well, and maybe a contract with their quarterback as well at some point. We got draft around the corner. Anything you want to say about baseball now that it's back? I mean, I know we've urinated upon it for, the 90 days and said nobody's talking about it and like all that. It came back at a time where there's a lot of other things going on. There's a war, I mean, as you and I go to air, the leader of Ukraine is speaking to Congress asking for help and serious stuff's going on. This thing happened in the blink of the eye. And then all these free agents happen at the exact same time that the free agency in the NFL is happening. And the Orioles, who were rumored to Carlos Correa back on the internet last month, are signing nothing. And the Ravens are making news again. And we're going to blink, and it's going to be the schedule's coming out in a couple of weeks. The Ravens may be playing in London. There's been too many rumors of that for me to believe that they might not be. Get a new team president, right? Sashi Brown. I'm going to the owners' meetings next week. There's going to be competition stuff next week. And then they're going to have a draft in 5.5 weeks, right? So they're going to have opening day. And they're going to play baseball, and the weather might be nice because of global warming. It's not 12 degrees like it used to be when Juan Nieves was hitting them on 38-degree days. But baseball, I mean, opening day, this, that. I mean, is there any thought that maybe a game that no?
For me right now, no. I mean, I'm knee deep in NFL free agency. Just the Ravens alone, if you're just following your own team, there's so much meat on that bone. Bradley Bozeman, right? He missed the first wave of free agency. Market value starting to dip. An available player though, very, very hardy. Hasn't missed one game in his career so far with the Ravens. A lot of storylines still that grab my attention, Nestor, before I even turn the little eye to baseball. The big guy for sure. Both big guys right now are professional football.
Well, we'll be back after it on Thursday. What's going on at Coons Ford? Give me a little update on the industry and inventory and all that. I mean, we're inching closer to the time where this is going to happen, and I'm going to have to start clicking and looking and feeling and touching and, hey, Dan, coming over. What's it going to look like in the spring?
Yeah, it's nuts right now. We're getting down to almost no new vehicles in stock. That's across the line, all manufacturers. Everybody's moving to an order your vehicle type of a deal, which most people can't wait 6, 8, 10, 12, 16 weeks for their vehicle. But pre-owned inventory is very heavy right now for us. We have over 300 used cars in stock, but the industry as a whole is upside down. You have the gas prices. We'll see how that affects the bigger vehicles, the larger SUVs, the gas guzzlers. You may see them soften up in the spring and summer season. So there's always opportunities in storms, Nestor, and we'll always give you the best advice here at Queens Baltimore Ford.
Yeah, I've always, I've been shocked that the country's gone to bigger cars, and I see more of it. And certainly, as you drive around the country, being out in Omaha and stuff, I get that if you're moving cattle and doing things like that. But I've often thought like gas is kind of volatile, like seafood. I talk about my crabbing
Yeah.
prices and whatnot. And everybody goes nuts when it gets volatile. Now it feels like it might be coming back down again. And it was a month or two or whatever, but it might be. Hey, I travel the world. I go over to Europe and I see they're paying $5, $6, and they've been paying it for 25 years. I mean, you go anywhere in the Caribbean, places $8 a gallon for gas. I mean, it's we live differently here in that
But
way.
they don't drive. They don't drive as much as the American public drives. We drive a lot, and we like our cars. We like
I
our
understand, but
horses.
for all of my lifetime, Ford manufactures all that efficiency, hybrid, right? I mean, all of that has gone to that way. Making cars. So I need to ask this. So if I want a car in June, and I know I'm good until then, come see you now. Do
Now,
I get to pick the color? Then I get
yes,
to pick the flavor. So what does that do from a price point perspective in regard to, hey, there's the green one, it's sitting right there? Because I don't
yeah,
I don't know enough about the industry.
yeah, you're going to get a better price in the order than you are in something in stock on the lot for sure. Plus, there's price protection, so in case the price rises, it's not going to cost you any more. There's also an
Oh,
incentive for
so
you to
that's
order
a
now.
great way to do it, is what you're telling me.
Yeah, it is. It's a wonderful way to do it. You get exactly what you want.
I have never, I don't say never, never. No, I've never ordered a vehicle. I've never gone in and like I've always had a vehicle that, I that's been there in some way.
It's like ordering your next cell phone or custom made suit. It's built for you, and that's the benefit of it.
See, that's a whole different thing than get in here and see this and drive and
Yeah,
test drive. And do I want the gray one or the blue one? And hey, I want to walk out of here with one, and you want to sell me one today, right? That's a whole different sell.
right.
That might be fun, you and me picking what I'm going to
That
have.
that's the
That would
European
let's
that's
do
the
that.
European model. That's the European model. They don't have car lots. They don't have
Oh, I
huge
know that.
inventory in
I've
Europe.
been to
They never,
Amsterdam and what,
yeah, they
right?
never have. They may have a couple models you can test drive. That way you can see what it feels like, what it looks like, what it drives like.
So in Europe,
But
it's more like Christmas. You order it, you wait, it's
order it and then you wait.
exciting. As the manufacturer, you're trying to deliver it on time or maybe a day
Well,
early,
you
right?
get updates. You can see where it is. You can see when it's scheduled. You can see when it's at the plant. You can see when it's built. You can see when it's shipped. All that gets communicated to you as a customer. It's a lot of fun
So I'm
if
gonna have
if you
a
can wait. If you
I'm
can
gonna
wait.
have a little fun with you this because I you follow me on social media a little bit. I've been collecting belt buckles, the old rock. Did I tell you this? I've gotten it. I had a Led Zeppelin. I
Yep.
bought it at KB East Point Mall in 1979, and it's worth $100. Yeah, it's probably not, maybe 100 because it's a little banged up, right? But they're some of them are 50, some of them, the Kiss thing's 2, 3, $400, right? Like get a Love Gun in mint condition, but I don't want mint condition. I want to wear it, right? So I've
Right.
started to
Right.
collect these belts. I'm not an internet shopper. I tell my friends at Wise that all the time. Like I touch my cucumbers, you know what I mean? When I go and shop. You and I ran into each other. Last time we saw each other was in the produce aisle in Wise. Like we're literally, right? By the way, Rob Santoni's coming out this week, so shout out to him doing some good things. So, I'm not at all an internet shopper. I had never been on eBay until like 3 weeks ago. And now I'm not addicted, but I bought, a handful of these belts for 30, $40 that I want to collect wear. You'll see me. You can ask me my rock star of the day because my wife's like, dude, you're having way too much fun. I'm like, imagine me with baseball cards back in 79. I'm having a good time with this. And it's a fun little thing. And so the eBay thing's crazy because like I've never shopped that way. So I click a button and in Grand Prairie, Texas, this guy is putting it into a box. I know when it's shipped. I know when it's coming. It's exciting. I get to run out to the mailbox. And, right? So like ordering a car would be like kind of fun, I think.
Yeah.
If you could wait and you could and
If you
there's
can wait.
price and I could get exactly like
Yeah.
and you're telling me you're not just car dealer. You're telling me I can get it cheaper?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's more cost efficient to do it that way for sure. Because it comes in, it goes right back out. It's not going to sit there for days, weeks at a time. It's just going to go in and go back out again.
All right.
So
I gotta go. I gotta go talk
something
to
to
my wife.
consider.
I gotta go talk to the boss.
You got it.
Dennis, I appreciate you. Tell everybody Thursday you're back in, and tell everybody how to get in touch with you if they want to purchase a vehicle, have a little bit of fun,
They can
or do
call
what I
me.
just talked about, because I literally had never thought of. I've known you a long time. We should talk about this more often. The ordering the car thing. It's not a bad idea, really.
Not at all. Anyone can call me my cell phone at 410-218-0337. It always rings on my hip.
Okay, so you know me, I'm not getting flaps or anything weird. I don't need
Yeah.
fog lights or anything. But like, I can literally at this point get anything in the catalog. I can get. Yeah, I'm trying to come up with the fun things that Chevy Chase, the sky blue, Icelandic blue, family roadster.
Oh, they have some
But is
names
there
out there
anything not
for you.
available with electronics and things like that? Like literally, I could get anything, any moonroof, sun, anything I want.
For the most part, yes.
Okay, good. All right. I had fun. That was a good segment. Dennis Koulatsos joining us here on behalf of our friends at Baltimore Ford Security Boulevard. Hey, if you're on the WNST Tech Service, you'll get all that breaking news. Unfortunately, no breaking news on Coppin or Navy or Morgan or Maryland or UMBC or Towson or like any of that. But March Madness lives. We'll have Keno for everybody that wants to play over at Costas, and some Betty Boop lottery tickets as well. I'm Nestor. He's Dennis. Join him Thursday from 3 until 5, and again on Sunday morning. Join me anytime. Ness at BaltimorePositive.com.